So do not skip asking those questions. That's mistake number one. Mistake number two, education is only as strong as the information you got in discovery. Let me say that again. Education is only as strong as the information you got in discovery. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Today is my daughter's 5th grade graduation. Yay! It's also my son's last day of school. So this mom is very happy that there is no more school for the summer. If you are just now finding this channel, thank you for being here. My name is Dana Neeson. I run a telesales team for Tailored Legacy. We sell final expense insurance over the phone exclusively with one carrier. My job is to help you have stronger, more sophisticated sales conversations. And today I'm going to play a game of Russian roulette. Well, not really, but what I did is I pulled up a bunch of calls for us to listen to. All of them outbound calls by the sales agents. All of them lasted more than 20 minutes. And I'm going to pick one to listen through to the whole call once we find one where the agent had to overcome a little bit of sales resistance in the first 30 seconds. So I have not listened to any of these in advance. This is kind of typically how I would start a training call for my team. I'd say, okay, we're going to pick a call to listen to. And if I have no volunteers, if nobody says, this is the call I want to analyze, then we're just going to go down the list and we're going to pick some calls. And when we find one that thinks it's going to be really, really good, we'll pick that, we'll analyze it, we'll learn. So my suggestion to you, as is my suggestion to everybody on my team, is to take a pencil and a paper and take notes, because throughout the call, I'm going to be pausing and I'm going to be asking questions like, what did you hear? What were the clues? What did you learn? What should we have asked? And in order for you to get the absolute best experience from listening to a sales training like this is to actively engage and interact. If you're passive, if you just sit back and listen while you're driving or in the gym or cooking or whatever else you're doing, you're not going to get the full training experience that I think you could. So you might have to listen to it twice, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. All of that and more today on Final Expense Telesales. All right, here we go. Let's listen to some calls.
Hello, William.
Speaking.
Yeah, this is Tim from Tailored Legacy on a recorded line. I understand you're possibly looking for some information about final expense protection when you pass away. So I was just getting back to you to see how I can help.
I don't think I'm looking for anything.
We're looking, it might have been like life insurance to help pay for funeral and burial or cremation expenses.
I was looking for some about a year ago, I think.
A year ago? Okay. Did you get something in place?
No. I was thinking that I could get some for a cheap price, and didn't like the quotes and stuff that I was getting, so I just kind of like to give up on it for now.
Right. Were you looking for something to help pay for funeral and burial or cremation expenses?
Well, I got something that I brought a long time ago for
Okay. So I don't think I'm going to pick this call, although I think Tim did a really good job. For reference, this was the 7th contact attempt on this particular inquiry, who just recently inquired. So it's possible that he may have not realized inquiring and it took us a while to maybe reach out to him, but it certainly didn't take us a whole year. I thought Tim did a good job of keeping him engaged and trying to probe to see where we could possibly help. This call did last about 40 minutes, ended in a call back, have to talk to wife. So maybe we'll go back to that one.
Hello.
Hi, Elvira.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning, Elvira. This is just Alan calling in. It looks like you had requested some information about protecting your family when you were to pass away, and I just had a chance to get back with you to see what I could do to help.
Okay. So how can you help me, Andy?
Well, curious, what caused you to start looking for some coverage in the first place?
Well, I'm old, but I'm healthy.
Good to hear. So, do you have any coverage now?
Here's a really good lesson to try to dig deeper on the inquiry. Anytime somebody mentions anything about the reason they inquired was because of their age, or in this case, because I'm old, to start building that sense of urgency from the beginning. I understand. I guess, what about getting old or getting older has you thinking that now's the right time to put something in place? Just asking the same question in a different way to get them to expand on their surface level answers is super, super important. And setting the tone early on that, hey, we're going to be asking some questions here, and I expect you to talk. Not quite sure if I want to pick that one either.
Hello, Lydia.
Hello? Yes.
Hi, Lydia. Hi, my name is Dan. And I noticed you recently inquired to possibly look at some coverage for you and your family. And I just had a chance to get back to you to see if I could help.
Okay, who is this from? What company are you from?
Yeah, this is Dan. Again, my name is Dan, and I'm a licensed agent in all 50 states. And this is from Lincoln Heritage, the number one final expense company.
Yes, I can't afford it right now to get any insurance.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to buy it right now. Usually the process is to get qualified first and go through the qualification. Then once you qualify, you can purchase. Have you qualified lately with any life insurance expense or program?
No.
I see. Now, just out of curiosity, Lydia, what caused you to start looking for some protection for you and your family in the first place?
Well, I was just interested to see what I could find, what I could afford. And at the time, they told me, like right now, all I'm able to get is like, how do you say, cremation. Unfortunately, that's the only thing would be available right now. If anything would happen.
Okay. And did you want it
Okay. That was an interesting way to explain that. So when she said that I can't afford to buy right now, he went in with, well, that's okay. You don't have to buy right now. We just need to see if you can qualify first, and then you can decide if you want to buy. Which she was like, and then he said, have you qualified for anything yet? And she said, no. So I don't think that's a bad approach, although I think there's a better way that you could go about doing that that's less invasive, which would be, that's not a problem. It's just my job to get you the information that was requested. What you do with that is entirely up to you. Would that be okay? And then that way I'm still not even like asking for a sale. And more importantly, in my mind, I'm not expecting that this is even going to end in an application. So the more that you can put the customer's needs, lower their walls ahead of kind of your agenda. Not that I'm saying he was doing that, but that's just some of the stuff that comes up for me when I hear we have to get you qualified first. It's not my favorite approach. We'll listen to one more and we'll pick from these four.
Hello?
Elizabeth?
Who's speaking?
Yeah, hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, this is Todd Kramer calling. You recently inquired about looking into getting some life insurance to protect your family, and I just had a chance to get back to you to see if I could help.
Well, I just wanted to get quotes, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help you out here. So Elizabeth, again, my name's Todd Kramer, and I'm a licensed agent in the state of Florida, and this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes. Now, so what caused you to start looking for some protection for your family in the first place?
I don't want my kids to collect money for me.
If you notice, all of the agents on this team always start with what caused you to look for some information in the first place. Do not skip that.
Oh, okay. So basically, when you pass, what do you want to make sure the kids have money to help take care of funeral costs?
Yes.
Okay, good for you. Yeah.
Not that I'm dying anytime soon, because I'm not.
Yeah, that's,
I just
you know what,
want to be safe.
Yeah, that's the best time to get it because if you were, then you probably wouldn't be able to qualify for it. So this is a good time to look at it. So yeah, I give you a lot of credit. So yeah, so Elizabeth, before I go into what we do here, I just have a few questions I'd like to ask you.
I think this is the call. We're going to listen to it.
So that way I can get a better understanding of what you might be looking for and make sure I can even help you out in the first place. Okay, would that be all right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. Now, so Elizabeth, what type of protection, if any, do you currently have in place for your family in the event that something happens to you?
I don't have nothing right now.
Okay, cool. Okay, so currently nothing at all. All right, not a problem. Now, so Elizabeth, before today, were you looking for a solution to put in place, or?
I'm like stopping first. You know,
Okay,
something
that's
that's
okay.
gonna be to my bills, you know, because I live on disability.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. We help a lot of clients who are on disability, fixed incomes, and things like that. So that's certainly not a problem. Now, I'm curious here, Elizabeth, have you ever had any life insurance before?
Okay, we just made our first mistake. Think about what the client Elizabeth just said. She had said that, well, first the agent had asked, you know, before today, have you been out there looking? She said, yes, but I'm stopping. And that was kind of confusing. And then she kind of mentioned something about, I want somebody to pay my bills because I'm on disability. I need more clarity there. I need more clarification on what that means. And I definitely just strike while the iron's hot, right? You don't need to go back to something like that when she's offering you some information. So I would say something to the effect of, I just heard you say bills. Like, what do you mean by bills? Are you looking for a policy that takes care of the bills when you're not able to pay for them? Can you expand on what that meant? That's going to be important in knowing how to help someone.
No.
No? Okay.
She's
All
never
right.
had
Well,
it before.
one thing here, Elizabeth, I want to assure you on is that no matter what you decide today, I just want to help you understand it. And that way, when you are ready to make a decision, you'll feel more confident to make one because you have all the right information to do so. Okay, would that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so let me ask you, Elizabeth, what expenses are you most concerned about your family having to pay for when you do pass away? Is it basically just your funeral costs or is there anything else?
Yeah, just for my funeral costs. I don't want them to collect up on me.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Now, so Elizabeth, God forbid something does happen to you tomorrow, because again, nobody knows when that day is going to
Oh,
come.
God bless
Who,
you. Yeah.
but who in the family would be the responsible one for going down to the funeral home, making all the funeral arrangements, and basically, you know,
My kids.
making all the financial decisions? Yeah. Okay. But how many kids do you have there?
I got 3.
Oh, excellent. Well, I commend you for raising 3 kids. We also stopped at 3 kids too as well. So yeah, definitely it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of money too. So good for you.
Yeah. Oh, my kids are big already.
Yeah. Oh, mine are
My-
too.
I got 48, a 46-year-old, 40-year-old, and a 23 that's going on 24.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that's very nice family, Elizabeth. So I'm just going to assume here that, you know, the reason you're looking for a policy is you want to put in place to protect your families, your kids from having to take money out of their own pockets to pay for your funeral. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, would that be a hardship for them to have to do that if something happened to you in a, you know, in an unexpected time, like, you know, something happened tomorrow? Would that be a hardship?
No. It will be hard, yes, because I'm the mother, you know, and I'm not gonna be there. But I just, you know, don't know. I just don't want them. I see my mom passed away, and we had to collect for her and stuff like that. I don't want that on
she
my
didn't have.
kids.
Yeah.
I don't want that
Okay.
on my
You. Yeah, so I understand. Yeah, you already kind of lived through that emotion, that you know, the
Yeah.
challenge of getting everything paid for.
So instead of you, the agent, coming up with how that might have caused her to feel when she was going through that, just ask, what type of impact did that have on you when the family had to come together and pay for it? Right? It's really easy for us as agents to project what they might have been going through during that time, but it's always far more powerful when you give the customer the space to provide how it actually felt because it's going to be the most real and genuine response that you can get.
Or not. So yeah, it definitely makes it a lot easier if there is money left behind. So yeah, that's certainly not a problem. Now, so just so I can get a clearer picture here, Elizabeth, have you by chance given any thought into the type of funeral you'd like to have, whether it be a traditional burial or a cremation? Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's a lot of people going that route. It's definitely the most cost-effective way of taking care of those services there. So yeah,
I just don't want no animals to eat me.
no, that's a good idea. me neither. Now, do you have anything?
True. I too.
Yeah.
I'm just carrying up my bed. I don't want nobody
I know.
to eat my skin or my meat. No, I might as well just let it get burned. Those animals are gonna get too big with our body.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let me ask you, so are you planning, would you like the family to do anything special with the ashes, like spreading them over the ocean or keeping them in an urn?
Well, I was thinking for my kids to, get a chain with something so they could put a little bit of the ashes there. Yeah. They just give them the ashes. They know what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, excellent. Well, Elizabeth, let me just make sure I understand everything that we just talked about here. Okay, so it looks like you're looking for some coverage to put in place to mainly help take care of a cremation funeral. So that way, your kids aren't going to have to worry about taking money out of their own pockets and trying to, figure out how to pay for everything. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, Elizabeth, so before I'm going to go over what we do here.
All right, another good pause moment. There's a question that we did not ask, which is a super important part of the discovery process, which is we've already talked about, the positive impact that putting a policy in place will do, right? So the kids don't have to come out of pocket and there's money there to easily pay for it. But what we didn't do is talk about the consequences of not getting one. I am curious, have you thought about what would happen if you weren't able to put something in place, or you didn't put something in place, or you couldn't afford to put something in place and you didn't do anything at all? Obviously, you just choose one of those three. You don't do all three. I guess what would they do then? Right. And it's really, really important. The reason we have to ask consequence questions is not just to get our customers to think about the consequences of not doing something, but we also need to uncover the plan B. Meaning, well, if I don't do it, then I guess my kids will be fine and they'll have to come out of pocket and do it. I mean, they have money, right? That's a possibility. So you have to follow up with, but do you want your kids to have to come out of pocket even if they had the money? She says, well, no. Okay, but why not? I guess if they have the money and you're living on a limited income, wouldn't it make more sense to just let your kids do it? So what am I doing there? I'm now trying to get her to talk me into why she wouldn't want her kids to do it. She might say something like, well, you never know what can happen in the future. People lose jobs, people get sick. Like, sitting there in that moment, this discovery does feel a little bit rushed to me. It doesn't feel like he's really sitting there and really trying to understand where she's coming from. It sounds like we're really just quickly moving from one question to the next question. So if we sit there for a moment and talk about the consequences of not putting something in place, is there a plan B? Do you want that plan B? Now you have something to grab onto if you get an objection at the end, right? By not doing that, your objection may be, well, I want to talk to my kids. I want to see what they want to do. If we talk about that in the front, right? Even if we said it's probably best that your kids do pay for it, we've talked in detail about why she wouldn't want her kids to pay for it. Now I have some real leverage when I go to hold her accountable for the reason she doesn't really need to talk to her kids when we get to the end, right? Or even if she talks to her kids and her kids say, no, we'll take care of it. She doesn't want them to come out of pocket anyways, because we've already brought that up in the beginning, right? So we are playing a sales game of chess. We are doing discovery, not just for the sake of asking questions, but for the real sake of understanding, to help someone get out of their own way and be motivated to make a change, because we've done the work to get them to tell us why it's important for them to have.
Here, okay? So that way you can understand it and can determine whether or not this would even be a good fit for you here, okay? Then what I'd like to do is just go over some health questions, figure out what you may qualify for, and then finally we'll go over a range of options and pricing, and you just let me know what you'd like to do next, okay? Does that sound fair?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Now, Elizabeth, our agency, we represent Lincoln Heritage Life Insurance Company. Have you heard of them before?
No, I don't like that.
You don't like Lincoln Heritage?
No, I looked in that one
What didn't you like about them?
because the price that I wanted is pays more when I had talked to another one when it pays less.
No, so let me ask you this. When you talked to the representative from Lincoln Heritage, did they talk to you about the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society that's actually going to help your family with the planning of the funeral and the cost of it?
No.
Yeah, so I think it may have been a different
But
Lincoln.
you see, I wanted $20,000 life insurance, and I want to know
Okay.
if I could afford that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here. So this will be a mistake if we fast forward to talking about the benefits of the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society that Lincoln Heritage provides, and we don't stay where we're at in education. Because we have to make sure that what she's getting prices for were for whole life, right? It's very possible that she could have talked to Globe, or she could have talked to any other company that was providing her a $20,000 quote for term, right? We don't know because we haven't asked her yet. So we still need to sit in education. Plus, the differences in a final expense policy, I'm not talking about modified or graded. The differences in final expense policies for Lincoln Heritage versus lots of other carriers are maybe $10 to $15 a month difference. When you start comparing the differences in modified, it is more, a lot more than $10 or $15 difference. But in the regular final expense policies, it's not significant of a difference to where someone's like, oh no, I can't afford it, right? If she hasn't made a decision up until this point, then it's more than $10 or $15 difference. Plus, this is a big red flag that just came up right here. That means we missed something in discovery, right? She just said she's talked to other people about $20,000 quotes. So one of the things we always want to do in discovery, which is one of the first times I paused this video, which was before today, have you been out there looking for a solution? She said, yes, but I stopped and she started going on. And one of the things we didn't ask, how long have you been looking? What have you found? What caused you to not move forward with them? It was too expensive. Expensive? How do you mean by too expensive? We would have already had an idea what she thought too expensive was for 20,000. So that way we can use that information when we come into education to help her understand why she's getting quotes for that. Regardless, we're finding it out now. So hopefully we do the right thing and we stay in education and we help her understand that if she wants a whole life policy that's going to stay with her until she passes, that it is going to be more expensive than term. This sale will be made in education. She has to understand that. We have to be on the same page. If we go too quickly to selling the features and benefits of the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, you are still going to get a price objection at the end because you have not solved that problem. That is her true problem, not the benefits.
So there's Lincoln Heritage. There's also Lincoln Financial. So maybe somebody from Lincoln Financial, you may have heard of them, or maybe that's who you talked with. So let me explain a little bit about who we are, okay? So we've been around for over the last 60 years, okay, providing final expense insurance and funeral protections for our families. Now, we also specialize with working with seniors who are living on a fixed income, which means all of our programs, they are customized, okay? Now, are you currently living on a fixed income now, like Social Security, or you said you disability, you said, right?
SSI.
SSI? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Now, the money that you do receive there, Elizabeth, is that being directly deposited into a regular bank account, or is that going onto like a direct express card?
That's going into one of my Visa cards.
To a Visa card. Okay, so you have a Chime account? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think they do have a routing and an account number that they can use as well. So that's okay.
You see me shaking my head because yes, Chime does have a routing and account number, but a lot of carriers are catching on to the fact that it's still an online bank. They do not have a good persistency score. Usually the reason that people need online banks, and I'm saying usually, this isn't always the case, but usually because they're not able to get a regular bank account at a brick and mortar bank for some sort of mismanaged money reason. So they're going to an online bank, and I would still stay away from Chime. I probably wouldn't have taken this call much further unless she had a brick and mortar bank.
Okay, so, Elizabeth, it is really important for me to, make sure we find something that's going to feel comfortable with fitting within your budget here, okay? Because if you can't afford to make the payment and the policy cancels, that's not going to do your family any good anyway, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the first thing here, Elizabeth, I want you to know is that Lincoln Heritage only provides permanent whole life protection as opposed to term. Now, do you happen to know the difference between the two? Has anyone ever explained that to you before?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay, so when someone says yes, what do you say? Write that down and see if it matches what the agent says, and hopefully he says what I have written down in the script.
They have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so just so I can make sure we're both on the same page, if you can explain to me what you feel that, is the difference?
A whole time life insurance, that it will be with me as long as I pay it.
Okay.
I could be 90, if I'm still alive, I still pay for it, it's there.
Right,
Right.
okay, and that'd be a whole life. Do you know how the term insurance works?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so let me explain to you kind of the difference here. So term insurance is basically what's considered temporary protection, okay? So what it is, it's designed to provide a large amount of coverage for a small monthly payment, but it only lasts for around 10 years or so, and then it cancels, okay? So you've probably seen some of those advertisements online or on TV showing coverages, between $50,000, $100,000 of coverage for only $9.95 a month. You've seen those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are perfect examples of companies advertising their term or temporary protection program. Now, what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the fact that you might be looking for a large coverage amount for a small monthly payment. But the thing is that it does start off really low, but the price does tend to go up every couple of years, and then it just ends up canceling anyway. And then once it cancels, you're going to be 10 years older. You're going to have to reapply. And at that point, if your health conditions were to change at all, it could be unaffordable, or you could be declined altogether. But the worst part, believe it or not, is that once you turn 80, it's going to cancel forever. And now you become uninsurable just because of your age. So you see, Elizabeth, why that type of temporary life insurance might not be the best option when it comes to protect your family when you do pass away?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. Now, whole life protection.
Okay, before we go to whole life, we made some mistakes here. We have to address them. Number one, first of all, we went through that really fast. Second of all, we did not make sure that she understood the information that was just presented to her. How do we do that? We do that by saying, now in your own words, tell me why you think that wouldn't be the right policy for you. That is the number one way to make sure they actually retained what you said, they understood it, and they're going to repeat it back to you in their own words. Hopefully she says something like, well, if I live till 85, then I won't have anything, right? Like a lot of times they're going to be insecure about their own reasons because they didn't understand it as well as you thought they did. So do not skip asking those questions. That's mistake number one. Mistake number two, education is only as strong as the information you got in discovery. Let me say that again. Education is only as strong as the information you got in discovery, because you should use their story here so that it means more to them. For example, if we would have asked her more questions about the quote she got, then we would be able to tie her experiences into this. So I would have said something like, for example, you told me that you got a couple quotes for $20,000. One was more expensive than the other. Were they significantly different? Was the one quote for $20,000, was it maybe $20 or $30 a month. Like I would try and probe to get her to tell me without asking how much it was specifically, because they may not remember or they may be uncomfortable telling you. Now, if she said yes, then we have something to grasp onto. Then, yes, it was about $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever it was. Okay, perfect. Now that sounds to me like a perfect example of somebody who's offering you temporary life insurance because it's really cheap and the chances of you outliving it are really high. Does that make sense? Now, if she would have said something that sounds realistic to be a whole life policy, and I got an idea of how much the quotes were, then I could help her understand why she was getting quotes for that much when I move into whole life. But I really have to make sure that I squash any idea she has about how much she thinks she wants to pay for 20,000. I might even go as far as saying, so I know you had it on your heart that you wanted to get a $20,000 policy. What are you hoping that something like that might cost? Right? And then whatever answer she gives me, I can really use that information to pound into her brain that she may not be able to get that unless she gets a term policy. And is that something that you want? Do you want to take that risk if you were to outlive it or if it went up in price in 5 years? Right. So you got to stay a little bit longer in education than you think you do. And you have to use their story to make it relevant and really pound home the point. Let's see how he explains whole life.
Okay, it is the exact opposite. Now, they don't provide quite as much coverage amount as those large term policies we just discussed there, but the payment might be slightly higher. However, it's not unaffordable, or obviously nobody would even get it. Now, once you are approved for a policy, your payment can never go up, your coverage can never go down, and it can never be canceled at any age. Now, these are typically the type of policies that people will get to make sure their funeral costs and final expenses are paid for because it's permanent. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah. Do you feel as though that type of plan might be what you'd be looking for?
Yeah, that sounds like pretty much.
Okay. So let me explain.
And why do you feel that it sounds like it might be the right fit for you? You're missing the moments. It might sound like obvious. Well, of course that they're going to say what you just said, but it's not. You guys will be so surprised on the answers that you're going to get from your customers when they tell you they don't actually know why. Can you explain it again? Or they try to talk you into the fact why that type of policy is better for them. Or what if they say, actually, term would be better for me? Don't you want to know that? Right? To have that conversation right there, we cannot be okay with yes and no answers. Also, I am not convinced at this point that she has the right expectation about how much a $20,000 whole life policy would cost. I think it's unresolved. I think we're still going to get that objection at the end when we give price, because I don't know what she thinks is too expensive, which is critical when it comes to understanding where someone's been so you don't make the same mistake as the agents that came before you. We don't know how to educate her properly because, again, we don't know in her mind what she thinks is too expensive and what she thinks is affordable. These are so important. Right now, we're living on a hope and a prayer that we think it's going to be affordable, and we cannot rely on the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society to make it affordable, right? The best thing we have going for us at this point is that she said she only wants cremation and she doesn't need $20,000 to take care of cremation. So maybe we should have asked, are there any other expenses that you want to make sure get covered besides the cost of cremation? Because you really don't need that much. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
So based off the information you provided me, it looks like we can get, potentially get you approved for the standard final expense policy. It means that's the best rate possible. It means that the full amount of the coverage would start from day one. Okay, so there is no waiting period at all. Now, Elizabeth, what I'm going to do here, I've got 3 options here I'm going to provide to you so that way, you can get a good understanding based off the information we talked about today. Okay, now we can go higher. We can also go lower too as well. Okay, so none of these numbers are fixed. Okay. Now, however, if you would like any of these options, the next step would be to get our underwriting department on the line here. They basically would run a prescription history check and complete the application process for us. And then After that, we'll be able to send everything out to you today by email. So that way you have some time to look it over before anything goes into effect. And then also, most of our clients are, Elizabeth, they like to get their policies started on the day that they receive their income. What day of the month do you typically get your disability? Is it like on the 3rd or the 1st of the month, or?
I get mine from the first.
On the 1st of the month? Okay, not a problem. So, something you were interested in, we could have it start now, or you can have it start, July 1st. Okay,
Well,
so that's not a,
Yeah, July 1st.
okay, that's okay. Yeah, not a problem. So I want to go over the options now.
I'm hoping before he gives the options that he gives her a recommendation to not look at 20,000 because she really doesn't need that much if she really just wants to take care of cremation and needs it to be affordable. Let's see.
Here's the thing, okay? The policies we're going to go over here is going to include everything that we talked about. That's going to include the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, so they're going to be able to get the support from them. Also, remember, they're going to be able to bring down the cost of the funeral, so more of that money is going to be left in your kids' hands, okay? Now, second of all, this is also going to include all the additional benefits as far as the accidental benefit as well. Okay. Now, I know you mentioned $20,000 because you wanted to leave the kids additional money behind as well. Okay. But I'll start you off at there, and then I'm going to kind of tear it down for you. Okay.
I kind of disagree with this thought because when you position yourself as the expert, you then have the right to make recommendations based on what somebody needs, not based on what somebody wants. Just because they want something doesn't mean it's what's in their best interest or what will help them to make a decision. I also would have had this conversation during the education and FCGS section. I would have definitely started planting the seeds. Why do you feel like 20,000 is, the number that you are stuck on for your kids? I would have talked about it. I would have made her talk about it. And ultimately we would have come to the realization that maybe 20,000 is, too much. Unless it was really important for her to take care of something else, I would have wanted to get her mind down closer to maybe a $5,000 policy to start, to at least help her make that decision to move from point A to point B, with the understanding that as long as she remains in good health, she can always increase her coverage at a reasonable price.
Yeah, I
So
just
you
want
did
to
it-
find out if I feel I have to bring it down, I'll bring it. Oh, excuse me.
That's great. Yeah. So if we do a $20,000 of coverage, okay, that's going to come in here. That's only $99 even a month. Okay. If you brought it down to 15,000, that's going to take it to $76.25 a month. And then $10,000 is only $53.50.
But that's the whole point that I was telling you. I found other things for less money for those amounts.
This is exactly where you do not want to be after you give price. You never want to be in a position where you're learning new information after you give price. Like, this is the worst place for a salesperson to be. You should already have known this information prior so you could prepare yourself and prepare your customer and offer good recommendations based on what you know. Now we have to backpedal, and that is not a good place to be.
But you have
Okay,
good
so-
quality and expensive amount, but I like it.
Right. So here's the thing.
I'd
Keep in mind,
rather just take the $15,000 right now.
the 15,000.
you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
then
here's the thing. Less of that money is going to be used for your funeral costs, because the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, they're going to be able to get that cost way down. So more of that money, you don't need to get as high as the coverage amount, because they're going to be able to save your kids some money. Does that make sense?
3 kids, remember.
Exactly. I hear you. Here's the thing you could do. If you'd like to leave them each $5,000, you could do a $16,000 policy. So $1,000 takes care of the cremation, and then they each get $5,000. You want to see what that would look
That'd
like?
be good. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is good. What you just heard is literally everything that you should be doing when you make recommendations. even though I don't necessarily think that was the appropriate recommendation to start, he just personalized it for her, right? So he just took her story and made the recommendation based on what her needs are. Did you hear how all of a sudden she just lit up? Yeah, that's a great idea, right? Because the FCGS, the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, we have the database for over 30,000 funeral homes and cremation places in the country. We can price shop one against the other. We can look at, 60 miles away. And our whole goal is to try to find $600 to $900 cremation, even if it's 60 miles away, because the transportation cost is cheaper than if you were to pay locally, $3,500, $5,000 for cremation. So what he said is absolutely correct. We can help get cremation costs for $1,000 or less. And then $5,000 would be there for the kids. Now that doesn't include, transportation costs. It doesn't include, the cost of the jewelry or the lockets that she had said in the beginning to make sure that there's a little piece of her with all three of her kids. I would have mentioned that as well. Probably included an extra chunk of change to make sure that that gets taken care of. Let's just see where it goes. But the whole point was that was good, right? He was making the recommendation personal for her.
Let's see, so if we do $16,000 of coverage, it's only $80.80 a month. So it only went up like $4.
Okay, that'll be good.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, excellent. So give me 1 second here. Let me get this information inputted here. And then we're going to do 16,000. There we go.
Okay, so spoiler alert, there is still 30 minutes left in this call, and it does not result in a sale. So here's what happened, in my opinion. I fast forwarded through the health questions because we didn't need to hear them, and it's, privacy laws and all of that. But what you did not hear when he was asking the health questions is she had said that she had a stroke, as well as a couple other health concerns, but that she was, I don't know how long the stroke was. I fast forwarded through it too fast, but she said she wasn't taking any blood thinner. She was just taking an aspirin. So I have a feeling that this one probably went modified and ended up blowing up at the end. But the thing is that it's all another reason why we should probably start a little bit lower to at least make sure the basics are taken care of. And that way, and we have so much more leverage at the end, right? With what happens if you don't do anything at all, right? Because if she is modified with us, she's going to be also modified with a lot of other carriers, and she's going to be in the same position, which means she has nothing. Plus, she doesn't have the negotiating power that a company like us can provide. So I'm going to fast forward and see if that's in fact what happened.
Yeah, we'll wait. So listen real quick, Elizabeth. What we can do.
Yes, I do have those two numbers here. For the specified monthly premium of $80, the face amount would be $7,500 in sulfate. These two being prescribed together indicates a chronic lung condition.
Lung condition.
Oh, wow. Okay, spell that medicine for me.
Okay, so I'm not going to list the medications and all of that. So she did in fact become modified, and the amount of coverage for the same price that she was agreeing to was cut in half. And therefore, the recommendation of your kids getting 555 and then covering the cost of cremation was blown, right? I think it's always safer to start with, let's at least make sure no one has to come out of pocket and pay for these expenses. And then we can always increase in the future when you feel like it's appropriate, at least taking care of the immediate need. Then if we got modified at the end, the difference wouldn't be as significant. So that is where we're going to end this call review today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being here for class. And if you are interested in really learning from me and being part of our team, please contact me in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.